Welcome to my channel. My name is Rhea and today we are going to talk about the new moon happening on 20th Feb 2023. So let's get started. Now, before we begin, I do request you to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so that you can be notified every time I post a video. So let's talk about the moon. A new moon is when the sun and the moon are together, right? Why isn't this? Okay, there we go. The sun and the moon are together. That's a new moon. And in astrology, this represents a point of new energy coming in, new energy that we will work on for the next 28 days or so till the next new moon, right? And this one's in the sign of Pisces at about 1 degree, right? And Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac, right? And one of the major things that's coming in with this energy, with this new moon, is about endings, is about letting go, right? That's the big theme. So this whole lunar month, we might focus a lot on revisiting the past, right? And letting it go, revisiting the past and closing it out, right? Revisiting the past and ending something. So there's a lot about endings with this moon. And there are a few reasons for this, but one of the reasons is that Saturn here is about to enter the sign of Pisces, right? And it's finishing up in Aquarius. You can see it's at 28 degrees. Less than 2 degrees, and it will be in the sign of Pisces. This happens on March 7th. So in this lunar month, we have Saturn changing signs, and that's a big deal because Saturn spends about 2.5-3 years in a sign, right? That's how long it spends in a sign, and that's a pretty long time, right? So for the past 2.5-3 years, we've been working on certain themes, right? And those themes are about to shift in the month of March. And this moon can really help us close those themes out, right? It can really help us to prepare for the theme changes that we are about to see in the month of March, especially with Saturn entering Pisces on March 7th, and we have Pluto entering the sign of Aquarius on, I believe, 23rd March, right? So we are gearing towards this theme shift, and this moon's asking us to close things out. Right, it's really asking us to close things out. Now, speaking of Pisces, Pisces is also about acceptance. It's acceptance of the higher power, right? It's acceptance of what's showing up in front of us, what we are being asked to do. It's accepting that. It's not resisting it. So Pisces is a lot about acceptance as well. It's about surrendering. It's about going with the flow. Right, so there's a lot of focus with this moon on being able to fully accept whatever is showing up, right? Whatever it is that we need to release, whatever it is that we need to end, right? We must be okay with that. We must be accepting towards that. Because with Pisces, every energy has a positive and negative. And if we don't channel it positively, it can manifest negatively, right? And the not so positive manifestations of Pisces are things like feeling low, right? Feeling depressed, mental health problems, things like addictions can crop up, right? Things like wanting to escape, right? Escape this material reality, escape to another place, right? That's a very prominent thing with Pisces that can happen. So surrendering, going with the flow, accepting will help us channel this Pisces in a positive way. Because if we don't, the negative manifestation is possible. And that's something to watch out for on this moon, right? Feeling low, maybe feeling like, this desire to escape this reality. So best to keep ourselves in check, best to nourish ourselves on this moon and pay attention to how we are feeling, right? Our mental health. So that's something I wanted to touch upon. And the next thing I want to talk about is that globally what can happen is that this moon can bring up Piscean themes, right? Pisces is associated with things like fashion, things like design, things like glamour, right? That's Pisces. Pisces is also the healthcare system. It's also associated with mental health, right? That's a big theme with Pisces. Of course, spirituality is there as well. Pisces is also things like depression, addictions, immigration, deception. So on a global collective level, we might see these themes come up, right? These themes of maybe focusing more on mental health, maybe focusing more on the healthcare system, maybe focusing more on the media, or, maybe something about deception, that sort of stuff. And this is just the beginning of the Piscean themes that are coming up, right? And why do I say that? I say that because Saturn here is going to enter Pisces in March, right? And for the next 2.5, 3 years, it is going to go over the sign of Pisces, and Saturn likes to restructure things, right? It likes to take something and it says, okay, this is not right as it is, right? I need to fix it in a way. So Saturn in Pisces will make us focus on Piscean themes, which I just mentioned: healthcare system, immigration, mental health. All these themes will become more prominent, right? They'll become more a part of our tangible world, right? More. Saturn brings focus in a very material, tangible way. So that's what we might start to see when Saturn enters Pisces. That's why this is just the beginning. So keeping a check on our mental health, on how we are feeling, is important. Now, the next thing I want to mention is that this moon is conjunct Saturn, right? That right there is Saturn. And Saturn is a serious planet, right? It says decide. It says commit. It says, what are your plans for the long run, right? It's not about fun. Saturn is not fun. It's serious. It's about getting things in line, right? And with this moon, Saturn is asking us, what is that decision that you need to make and haven't made yet? What is it going to be? What are you not committing to that you need to commit to? Either way, yes or no, right? This way or that way. It's not always a yes, I commit with Saturn. It's decide. If you don't want to commit, don't commit, but stop doing this. So it's this planet that's going to ask us to decide something, that's going to ask us to commit. It's going to ask us to be serious. It's going to ask us to review our plans with a long-term vision in mind, right? So there's a lot going on with that also. And since the moon is in Pisces, what this could be is, what is it that you need to end? What is it that you need to let go of, right? What's the decision going to be? So Saturn sitting there is making this moon a very decisive one, making this moon a very serious moon, right? And with Saturn also, there can be this tendency of feeling slightly low, right? Saturn can make us feel low as well. And Pisces by itself, Neptune ruled, that can also make us feel low. So again, I'm stressing on the mental health aspect of this moon. I'm stressing on the fact that we might need to really watch out for not feeling so low. Accepting, surrendering, deciding, committing, being proactive about this energy and doing what it's asking us to do can really help us. Now, what else is going on? So Mercury on this moon is making a few aspects, right? We have Mercury here sextiling the Jupiter-Chiron conjunction, squaring Uranus, and trining Mars, right? Mercury is doing a lot of things, and Mercury is our logical mind, right? It's the planet of our logical mind. It's the planet of speech. It's the planet of a lot of little things like our day-to-day routine, our health habits, our food in a way, right? What we eat, that sort of thing. So Mercury here is squaring Uranus. Stressful aspect with Uranus, the planet that can be unpredictable, that can be sudden, that can be unexpected, right? So what we want to watch out for with this is one, nervous energy, right? This can bring a lot of nerves. This can bring a lot of nervous energy. So we want to watch out for that. We want to watch out for not indulging in confrontations. We want to watch out for, verbal confrontations, or saying something unexpectedly and suddenly out of the blue that might lead to a confrontation, right? These are the things we want to be mindful of. But like I said, every energy has a positive and negative, right? Although this is a stressful aspect, what this can really do is it can bring insights, it can bring epiphanies, it can bring realizations. So those are things that can happen with this moon. Right, it is also trining Mars, positive aspect with the planet of action, right? And what this can help with is moving forward, right? Mars rules the sign of Aries. Mars is about moving forward. Mars is about getting what you want, right? So there is this energy that's asking us, yes, close out the past, right? Let it go. What's the decision going to be? Are you going to commit? Are you going to plan for the long run? And then it's giving us that energy and drive and the mental drive, right? The mental energy to move forward and make things happen. And there's also a healing element to this moon, right? It is sextiling Chiron. Chiron here is the planet of healing. Healing with Chiron is usually bittersweet, right? It brings healing, but it brings healing after we face our pain, after we face what's not working, after we face our wounds, right? There is a healing element to this. However, it might feel bittersweet, right? Chiron usually does feel bittersweet. And let's not forget Jupiter is here as well. Jupiter is a benefic. It brings gifts, blessings, but it also brings lessons, right? A lot of lessons. And it is aspecting Mercury as well. So maybe some lessons that can come with the insights, right? That can happen. But again, I would stress that Jupiter is a magnifier and it is aspecting Mercury, right? So being mindful of our communication is important on the moon. And that's Mercury, right? So far I'd sum it up as something closing out, something completing itself, something ending, something releasing, right? Being able to take that decision, take that call, take that, stance on saying, yeah, I decide, I'm okay with that. And being mindful of our speech, being mindful of the nervous energy or an energy that can make us feel low can help, right? Surrendering, accepting what's going on and being decisive is important. Now moving on to the next important thing. So we also have this moon in a trine with the south node, right? This right here is the south node, also known as Ketu, right? And this is about the past. It's the past lives that we have. It's the past experience our soul has. It's the past, right? And in Scorpio, it can also, what it can do is it can help us dig out things that are buried deep within, right? It can help us reveal things, whether emotionally, internally, personally, or collectively, right? So that there is a closing out, right? So there's that aspect as well. And Ketu here is the detached one, right? It is the detached one, and detachment is a big theme with Ketu. So with a positive aspect to this moon, we might have to detach from something, right? And if we are closing something out, if we are letting something go, right, detachment is necessary, right? That's the only way it happens. So there's an element of being detached, and this can happen after we realize something, or it can happen after we uncover something, right? So there is that going on as well. And we have Venus here getting ready to enter the sign of Aries very soon, but it is in a sextile with Pluto, the planet of transformation and rebirth, right? And Venus here represents our businesses, it represents our relationship, it represents how we look in a way. It's the planet of beauty, right? So there could be changes to maybe relationships or finances or businesses or just how we feel or our appearance on this moon as well, right? So that's also going on. And let me see if I missed out anything that I had wanted to speak about. Yeah, I'll just mention one more thing and then we will wrap it up. So we also have Neptune here at 24 degrees of Pisces, right? And if you recall, last year in April, we had Neptune and Jupiter meeting up at about 23, 24 degrees of Pisces, right? And that conjunction in the sign of Pisces was also a lot about letting go of the past, right? A lot about that. And Neptune's at the same spot again. So this could be bringing up something from the past, right? It could be bringing up something from the past that we have been slowly trying to let go of, right? Astrology is a process. Yes, there's certain things that happen suddenly and unexpectedly and that happen once and that change things. But also there are things that are a process, right? That take time, that happen over days, weeks, months, years, right? So this is one of those things with Neptune back at 24 degrees. We might be closing something out that we have been trying to close out since April of last year, right? Again, that theme of letting go, endings is just more and more highlighted, and it makes sense. Pluto here is going to enter Aquarius in March, right? Saturn is going to enter Pisces. Two big energies, changing signs, themes will shift. So there is that as well. And in the next 2-3 years, Saturn here will also focus on closing things out in a more larger way, right? In a more longer term way, before we have the Saturn Neptune conjunction at 0 degrees of Aries. We'll talk about that in another video, but we are building up to that in 2025, 2026, the Saturn Neptune conjunction, right? So anyway, coming back to this, let me see if there's anything else. Yeah, so I think that pretty much sums it up. And in Vedic astrology, I'll just mention why this is in Vedic. In Vedic astrology, this moon is happening in the sign of Aquarius. One of the differences between Western and Vedic is where the energies are at, right? And in Vedic, they're a little bit behind, 23 to 24 degrees. So this moon falls in the sign of Aquarius, but more importantly, it falls in the nakshatra or lunar mansion of Shatbishak. Right now, this is according to the equal nakshatra system. There's also an unequal nakshatra system, which I like to look at. But for this one, we are going to go with the equal nakshatra system. And this falls in the nakshatra of Shatbishak, right? And this nakshatra is ruled by Rahu, the north node. In Vedic astrology, Rahu is an energy that's a lot about magnifying things, yes, but it's also about deception. Rahu can bring illusions, right? It can bring this smoke and mirrors effect, right? Like, is that real? Is that not real? Is that an illusion, right? So it's this energy in Vedic astrology. It's also this nakshatra is also associated with things that are hidden, right? Secrets, that sort of thing. So to me, that theme, that Piscean theme of maybe, deception or maybe an illusion, that can be highlighted, right? And secrets coming to the surface can be highlighted as well with Ketu here in a trine to the node. Ketu here in a trine to the moon can represent the same thing as well. And this nakshatra is also associated with illnesses, right? Shatbishak is the nakshatra of 100 healers. That's the nakshatra. And usually healing is associated with illness, right? Because you can't heal something that's healthy. You heal something that's not healthy or broken or hurt, right? So in many ways, yes, it represents healers, but it also represents illnesses. So that can be highlighted in Vedic astrology. And Pisces is the healthcare system as well, right? It's hospitals. So those themes can be highlighted in some way. And let me just also mention a few more things about Vedic astrology before we move on. So the first thing I want to mention is that in Vedic astrology, Neptune is changing signs, right? It is entering the sign of Pisces now. In Vedic, Neptune is still in Aquarius. And you can see it's at 24 degrees almost. So now it's entering the sign of Pisces in Vedic. And now, for a few years, in Vedic and Western, Pisces will be in Neptune will be in Pisces, right? So that's the first change that's happening, and I believe this is happening on 18th of Feb. The second thing is that Rahu, the north node, is changing nakshatras, is changing lunar mansions. So far, it has been in the nakshatra of Bharni. Bharni nakshatra is ruled by Venus, but to me, it represents a very Plutonian energy. Destruction for the sake of creation, death and rebirth, transformation. Right? So Rahu has been there magnifying this in some way, and now it's going to enter the nakshatra of Ashwini. Ashwini is the first nakshatra, and this again is associated with healers, right? It's associated with healing through herbs or metaphysical means or any other things, right? But healing. So it is going to highlight that, and Ashwini nakshatra is ruled by Ketu, the south node. And what this can also represent is the past, because Ketu is the planet of the past in a lot of ways, right? So maybe something about the past coming back up, us wanting to deal with it, that sort of thing can happen as well. And Ashwini nakshatra can be a very competitive, aggressive sort of nakshatra as well. So that's something that can be magnified as well. The last thing in Vedic astrology that I want to mention is that Jupiter is changing nakshatras as well. Jupiter here is now going to enter the last nakshatra, last lunar mansion. There are, for practical purposes, 27 lunar mansions that are used, and now Jupiter's coming to the end of the nakshatras, right? It's entering the nakshatra of Revati. So far, it has been in the nakshatra of Purva Bhadrapada, and Revati is the last nakshatra, so it has a lot to do with transformation. One, it has a lot to do with spiritual wealth, right? That's a big theme associated with this nakshatra, very Piscean in that sense, that it's about spiritual wealth, it's about transformation, it's getting ready for the new beginning, right? So that's also happening, and you might want to know these things if you follow Vedic and you want to check out your chart, that sort of stuff. So these are the big changes coming up in Vedic, and that's a lot, right? In about over a span of a week, we have these big energies changing nakshatras and signs. So we'll definitely feel something. And then this moon is there conjunct Saturn before Saturn enters Pisces, which is asking us to close out chapters, right? So we'll definitely start feeling that shift coming in, right? And I think that sums it up, right? So I would say that a lot about closing out the past. If there's one thing I'd say, it's about closing out something. It's about ending something. It's about deciding to close out something. It's about being okay with that ending, right? It's not about letting go of ourselves, feeling like low, feeling depressed. It's not about that. So if you use it positively, the negative won't happen, right? It's a lot about prepping for the new themes that are going to come in. That being said, the old themes are not going to go away completely, right? That's not going to happen, because Pluto here is going to go back and forth between Aquarius and Capricorn till 2024. We'll also have Pluto entering the sign of Aquarius where Saturn has just been, right? So those themes, Aquarian themes, will continue, and certain themes will begin to emerge, new themes will begin to emerge as well. And with Jupiter in Aries right now, right, new beginnings are possible. So focus on that, right? Focus on starting anew, letting go of what needs to be let go of. Now, I think that sums up the moon. So for my chart, I have Neptune squaring my sun, almost exact right now. This is the third time it's doing it. So I don't know. I had expected it to be much worse in a way, but it's okay so far. It's okay. It does lead to feeling all the Neptunian things that can come with Neptune squaring your sun, but it's okay, right? For me, I think the hardest planet to deal with is Pluto, because Pluto has conjuncted a lot of things in my chart, and I feel it's not negative, but it is one of those energies that really requires you to do the work, right? Because there's no option with Pluto. So it's conjuncted my a lot of things, like it's conjuncted Mercury, Mars, IC, Sun, North Node, Neptune, Uranus, Saturn. Oh, it will conjunct my Saturn soon. So yeah. And the last time I went through a Saturn Pluto transit, right? I think this was 2014. 2014 is when Saturn met up with my Pluto, right? And that was the end of so many things in my life, because Pluto here represents the end of something and the beginning of something new. And at that point, Saturn pretty much ended the life I had built. You know, whatever I had built till then, it just ended it. And yeah, anyway, yeah, so the hardest planet is Pluto, in my opinion. And Pluto here squared my moon also. It squared my moon. My moon's at 22 degrees of Aries. So the Saturn-Pluto conjunction was exact square to my moon. And the combination of those two is just not fun. But it leads to good things, right? It leads to growing. It leads to evolving. It leads to uncovering parts of yourself that you didn't know existed, that sort of thing, right? Because I think it was the Saturn-Pluto conjunction where so many things changed. I mean, for a lot of people, but for me as well. And I think I'll leave it at that today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and now I will see you next time. Bye.